Then Ananda arose from his seat, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Buddha, "Now that we who are stupid and slow, who are fond of erudition but have not sought to seize the outflows of our minds, have received the Buddha's compassionate instructions and have attained the proper means to become infused with cultivation, we experience joy in body and mind and obtain tremendous benefit. World honored one, for one who cultivates in this way and is certified as having attained the Buddha Samadhi, but who has not yet reached Nirvana. What is meant by the level of dry wisdom? What are the 44 minds? What is the sequence in which one cultivates till one reaches one's goal? What place must one reach to be said to have entered the grounds? And what is meant by a bodhisattva of equal enlightenment? Having said this, he made a full prostration, and then the great assembly single-mindedly awaited the sound of the Buddha's compassionate voice as they gazed up, unblinking with respectful admiration. At that time, the world-honored one praised Ananda, saying, good indeed, that you can, for the sake of the entire great assembly and those beings in the final age who cultivate samadhi and seek the great vehicle, ask to have explained and revealed the unsurpassed proper path of cultivation that takes one from the level of an ordinary person to final parinirvana. Listen attentively, and I will speak about it for you. Ananda and everyone in the assembly placed their palms together, cleansed their minds, and silently waited to receive the teaching. The Buddha said, Ananda, you should know that the wonderful nature is perfect and bright, apart from all names and appearances. Basically, there is no world, nor are there any living beings. Because of falseness, there is production. Because of production, there is extinction. The names production and extinction are false. When the false is extinguished, there is truth, which is called the first common unsurpassed Bodhi and great Nirvana. Those are names for two kinds of turning around. Ananda, you now wish to cultivate true samadhi and arrive directly at the first common parinirvana. First, you should recognize the two upside-down causes of living beings and the world. If its upside-down state is not produced, then there is the first common true samadhi. Ananda, what is meant by the upside-down state of living beings? Ananda, the reason that the nature of the mind is bright is that the nature itself is the perfection of brightness. By adding brightness, another nature arises, and from that false nature, views are produced, so that from absolute nothingness comes ultimate existence. All that exists comes from this. Every cause, in fact, has no cause. Subjective reliance on objective appearances is basically groundless. Thus, upon what is fundamentally unreliable, one sets up the world and living beings. Confusion about one's basic, perfect understanding results in the arising of falseness. The nature of falseness is devoid of substance. It is not something which can be relied upon. One may wish to return to the truth, but that wish for the truth is already a falseness. The real nature of true suchness is not a truth that one can seek to return to. By doing so, one misses the mark. What basically is not produced, what basically does not dwell, what basically is not the mind, and what basically are not dhammas arise through interaction. As they arise more and more strongly, they form the propensity to create karma. Similar karma sets up a mutual stimulus. Because of the karma thus generated, there is a mutual production and a mutual extinction. That is the reason for the upside down state of living beings. Ananda, what is meant by the upside down state of the world? All that exists comes up from this. The world is set up because of the false arising of sections and shares. Every cause, in fact, has no cause. Everything that is dependent has nothing on which it is dependent, and so it shifts and slides and is unreliable. Because of this, the world of the three periods of time and four directions comes into being. Their union and interaction bring about changes which result in the 12 categories of living beings. That is why in this world, movement brings about sounds, sounds bring about forms, forms bring about smells, smells bring about contact, contact brings about tastes, and taste bring about awareness of dharmas. The random false thinking resulting from these six creates karma, and this continuous revolving becomes the cause of 12 different categories. And so in the world, sounds, smells, tastes, contact, and the like are each transformed throughout the 12 categories to make one complete cycle. The appearance of being upside down is based on this continuous process. Therefore, in the world, there are those born from eggs, those born from wombs, those born from moisture, those born by transformation, those with form, those without form, those with thought, those without thought, those not totally endowed with form, those not totally lacking form, those not totally endowed with thought, and those not totally lacking thought. Ananda, through a continuous process of falseness, the upside down state of movement occurs in this world. It unites with the energy to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts that either fly or sink. From this, there come into being the egg kalalas, which multiply throughout the lands in the form of fish, birds, amphibians, and reptiles, so that their kinds abound. Through a continuous process of defilement, the upside-down state of desire occurs in this world. It unites with the stimulation to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts that are either upright or perverse. From this, there come into being the womb abodes, which multiply throughout the world in the form of humans, animals, dragons, and immortals, until their kinds abound. Through a continuous process of attachment, the upside-down state of inclination occurs in this world. It unites with warmth to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts that are vacillating and inverted. From this, there come into being through moisture the appearance of perches, which multiply throughout the lands in the form of insects and crawling invertebrates until their kinds abound. Through a continuous process of change, the upside-down state of borrowing occurs in this world. It unites with contact to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts, but of new and old. From these, there come into being through transformation the appearance of ganas, which multiply throughout the lands in the form of metamorphic flying and crawling creatures until their kinds abound. Through a continuous process of restraint, the upside-down state of obstruction occurs in this world. It unites with the attachment to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of refinement and brilliance. From these, there come into being the ganas of appearance that possess form, which multiply throughout the lands in the form of auspicious and inauspicious essences until their kinds abound. Through a continuous process of annihilation and dispersion. The upside-down state of delusion occurs in this world. It unites with darkness to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of obscurity and hiding. From this there come into being the ganas of formless beings, which multiply throughout the lands as those that are empty, dispersed, annihilated, and submerged until their kinds about. Through a continuous process of illusory imaginings, the upside-down state of shadows occurs in this world. It unites with memory to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts that are hidden and bound up. From this, there come into being the ganas of those with thought, which multiply throughout the lands in the form of spirits, ghosts, and weird essences until their kinds about. Through a continuous process of dullness and slowness, the upside-down state of stupidity occurs in this world. It unites with obstinacy to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts that are dry and attenuated. From these, there come into being the ganas of those without thought, which multiply throughout the lands as their essence and spirit change into earth, wood, metal, or stone, until their kinds about. Through a continuous process of parasitic interaction, the upside-down state of simulation occurs in this world. It unites with defilement to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of according and relying. From this, there come into being those not totally endowed with form, who become ganas of form which multiply throughout the lands until they cast about in such ways as jellyfish that use shrimp for eyes. Through a continuous process of mutual enticement, an upside-down state of the nature occurs in this world. It unites with mantras to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of beckoning and summoning. From this, there come into being those not totally lacking form, who take ganas which are formless and multiply throughout the lands, until they cast about as the hidden beings of mantras and incantations. Through a continuous process of false unity, the upside-down state of transgression occurs in this world. It unites with unlike formations to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of reciprocal interchange. From this, there come into being those not totally endowed with thought, which become ganas, possessing thought, and which multiply throughout the lands until their kinds abound in such forms as the Varata, which turns a different creature into its own species. Through a continuous process of enmity and harm, the upside-down state of killing occurs in this world. It unites with the monstrosities to become 84,000 kinds of random thoughts of devouring one's father and mother. From this, there come into being those not totally lacking thought, who take ganas with no thought, and multiply throughout the lands, until they cast about in such forms as the dirt owl, which hatches its young from clods of dirt, and the poaching bird, which incubates a poisonous fruit to create its young. In each case, the young thereupon eat the parents. These are the 12 categories of living beings.